Hey guys. I normally don't start with a joke, but I guess I'll start with a joke. And then after I say the joke, you guys probably say, Tzvi, no more jokes. So it's the 1970s, middle of the 70s, Soviet Union. And a group of Jews, dissidents, refuseniks, people who couldn't get out of the Soviet Union were finally allowed to get on a plane to go to Israel. They get to the airport in Moscow. They're waiting to board, and all of a sudden they hear on the loudspeaker in the airport, "Attention passengers, we will have a slight delay. We cannot take off because there's a delegation of Soviet officials, Politburo officials, about to take off to go abroad." Okay. So the Jews are waiting. An hour passes, they get their hopes up. Okay, we're about to board the plane. Loudspeaker, once again. "Attention passengers, Aeroflot flight to Tel Aviv. We are going to have another delay. Delegation of Komsomol, young communists, taking off, flying to Cuba. Fact-finding mission. We have another couple hours delay." Okay. Finally, they're ready to board the plane. 2 hours passes by. "Attention, everyone. All passengers waiting for their flight to Tel Aviv on Aeroflot. We have a delegation of KGB officials taking off for Nicaragua." And so it just keeps going on and on like that. KGB, GRU, Politburo, Komsomol officials, all kinds of officials. It's going and going and going and going. At some point, there's no one left. And one of the Jews, one of the ringleaders goes, "Hey guys, everybody's gone. Maybe we could stay." All right. With that said, guys, I want to talk to some of my friends in Israel. I was just in Israel for 2 months, and when I mean my friends, I'm talking about the people who have their heads on straight. I'm talking about the people who, want Israel to finish the job. The people who vote for, not that it matters, but the people who are right-wing, the people who are normal, the people who have common sense, who have their head on straight, who don't want to sell the country to our enemies, who don't want to trade, who don't want to trade away 1,000 orcs for like one soldier, or 5,000 orcs for, 40 hostages. Maybe half of them are even alive. The people who are normal, 80% of Israel, 85% of Israel, maybe even 90% of Israel. What I hear from them is what I've heard from them. They tell me, Bibi wants to do the right job, but they say America won't let him. Like I'll say it the way my Russian-speaking friends in Israel say, "Ваша Америка не разрешает." Your America won't let him. Folks, I just want to tell you, the people who won't let him, as if he has to ask somebody to let him, but let's just say somebody does have to, let's just say he's asking somebody to let him, and let's just for a second assume that someone has to let him. The people whom he's speaking to are not America. They don't represent America, the country. They don't represent even American values. They don't represent anything about America. At best, they represent themselves. At worst, they represent entities like China, the Chinese Communist Party. I'm talking about people like Biden and Obama and all their cronies. They don't represent America. This is not America. And they for sure are not ours. Right? They can say, well, when it's Republicans, it's yours, and when it's his. No, folks, anybody who represents America represents America. you could pretty much tell who represents America. So I just want to say to my Israeli friends, honestly, and I noticed that my American Jewish friends here in America make the same mistake about Israel. Both groups think that the other group's country that they live in is a monolith, meaning is run by a monolith. Israel wants to do this, like Israel, like this entity called Israel is doing this and doing that. Folks, in Israel we have politicians. Some of them want to do X, some of them want to do Y, and some of them want to do Z. Like, it's just logical that we understand that. And now you could say, well, it seems like everybody's united now that October 7th happened. No, they're not united, folks. They're still... I was just telling a friend of mine who's Israeli, who's from Israel, I told him, Bibi doesn't have any control over the Ramatkal, the high command of Israel, of the Israeli army. You know, now you see all these videos from anti-Semites in America. Oh, this was an inside job. Now we found out it was an inside job. Folks, it wasn't an inside job in the way that you think an inside job is. It was lefty fruitcakes inside of the Israeli military brass who literally allowed this to happen. They allowed it to happen. We found out. I mean, me and my friend Frank were saying in the very beginning. We even had evidence of this, but now we have proof. We have documents. Caroline Glick just made a whole video about it. It's irrefutable proof that they allowed this to happen. It's not an inside job. It's certain entities in the government that want to collapse, you know, the current government. Certain entities in what's called the apparatus of Israel. The top military brass, the Supreme Court, the Histadrut, the labor unions, and the media, versus elected officials in the Knesset who were elected by a majority to represent the people of Israel. This is what this is, folks. So it's not a monolith. Certain people want to do some things, certain things in the government. Certain people, you know, in the military don't want, and they've been stifling the soldiers, and they've been causing harm to, you know, they're essentially responsible for soldiers dying needlessly in battle, because of delays and because of, you know, stifling and hesitations and delays and pullbacks and, you know, other stupid policies. Not stupid, they're evil. I mean, it's one and the same. And it's the same thing, folks, with America. America is not a monolith, meaning the majority of Americans are normal. We've been hijacked by fruitcakes who want to dismantle the Constitution, who want to dismantle the idea of anything to do with the original idea of America, and they want to turn it into something unrecognizable. A banana republic. Folks, we see every day now. They're catching guys who came over the border, whether they be Spanish-speaking or whether they be Arabic-speaking. They're catching guys in the act of something. Whether it's just petty crime, like Spanish-speaking gentlemen, or, again, folks, I'm just giving you over the you know, the news here. I'm not targeting a particular group of people. And or they're finding that Arabic-speaking gentlemen have plots to do something sinister, whether it's on particular, you know, Jewish locations or in general. Folks, America has been hijacked by an entity. So when you hear, you know, America's not giving weapons, it's not America. It's not the American people. It's this fruity entity. Obama, Biden, there's other people involved. State Department. They want to dismantle Israel. And by the way, they're working with certain entities in Israel. Not Israel, but with certain fruitcakes in Israel who also want to dismantle certain elements of the state, or the state as it's composed today. And the crazy part is that they're doing it right in the face of the majority. This is how it's always been done by commies. You have the majority of people who believe one way, who are normal, and then you have a tiny minority who just, you know, take control and rabble rouse and threaten everybody and terrorize everybody. It's called Bolshevism, folks. Bolsheviki. Speaking of Soviets. So, my friends, it's not America. It's not Israel. Like, you don't label it America, don't label it Israel. Israel is doing X. America is doing X. It's a bunch of fruitcakes. And I could say, what about Bibi? Bibi is caught in the middle of this, honestly. I might be giving him a little bit more credit than he deserves, but I think he's caught in the middle of this. I mean, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't allow himself to be, but he is. And folks, you may say, well, what's the end game of this to be? Well, the end game, I think, I don't know if you guys know this, the biggest settlement expansion, the quickest settlement expansion Israel's ever had was during the administration of Barack Obama. Meaning, in that time frame, Jews built homes in Judea and Samaria, and they were dismantled, and they rebuilt them, and they were dismantled, and they rebuilt them, and today they're full-fledged towns that are recognized by the Israeli government, one after the other. So I have a friend that says, maybe Bibi doesn't want to end this war too early because he wants to wait for Trump to come in so that he can, he doesn't have to answer questions like, are you going to let the PA rule over Gaza, or just answer any question, just basically tell people what the plan is going to be. Like Gantz is asking, what's going to be the plan after we defeat Hamas? Folks, if we defeat Hamas immediately, like before the election, Jews themselves will come into Gaza, if it's, wherever it's safe, wherever it's clear, and they will start building homes in Gaza. This is what they will start, God willing, what they will start doing. And it won't matter who the American president is, Trump, Biden, I don't know, Kanye West, whatever. They will start building, and they'll probably get dismantled. most likely not. The army's not going to do it. Soldiers are not going to dismantle their homes. Somebody will be sent to dismantle them, and then we'll rebuild them again, folks. Israelis, as far as I know, the people that build homes in Judea and Samaria, they are persistent little buggers. We know that. These are my friends. These are people that I was recently there. I was in a place called Esh Kodesh. This is a full-fledged now hilltop settlement. It was for years. Most of the homes that were built there, at any given point, we're talking about starting from 10 years ago, or even 12 years ago, 15 years ago. Every other home was dismantled at some point, and then rebuilt, and then dismantled and rebuilt. Folks, the best grapes in Israel come from that area of the country, around the Shiloh Valley area. The biggest wineries in Israel, they'll never tell you, they never will tell you, they use the grapes from that area, folks. The wineries that are in what's called Israel proper, they use the grapes from that area. Maybe if you guys grab a Tepperberg bottle, you'll see on the back, it just says Shomron. Folks, the grapes, it's referring to the grapes that are from Shiloh, the Shiloh area that they take and they use in their wine. It's basically wine from Judea and Samaria, folks. One of the biggest wineries, most highest producing wineries in Israel, called Tepperberg, gets its grapes from occupied territory. So, my friends, I just want to tell my Israeli friends, it's not America. It's people who have hijacked America. I certainly don't sanction them and their behavior. And I want to tell my American Jewish friends, whenever you see Israel doing something, it's not Israel. It's a bunch of lefty fruitcakes in what's called the Ramat Kal, the high idea of command, who have something called concepcia, the concept. What's the concept? We can just keep orcs at bay. By orcs, I mean Hamas. We could just, let them stay in their Gaza thing, and we can keep them at bay. Folks, as you can see, at any given point, they decided, well, when we want to take down a government that we don't like, a government that threatens to do judicial reform, a government that is too religious, well, we'll just let these orcs come in and slaughter women and children and babies and all the rest of it, and take hostages. Folks, this is some real stuff. This is some real stuff. It's difficult for Israelis to believe. I spoke to Israelis a couple months ago. You speak to them to their face. They can't believe it. How would a Jew, a guy with the last name Halevi, a guy with the last name Eisenkot, a guy with the last name Galant, allow such horror? Folks, you don't know Jewish history. There was things called kapos and Judenrat and Frankists and Sabbateans and Erev Rav and all kinds of internal enemies that we had. In this case, some of these guys are wearing IDF uniforms with a lot of stars on them and a lot of emblems on them. And you could say, well, they serve the country. Folks, they are willing to do whatever. Or maybe the people that are really in charge, they put them up to it. Who knows? Some of these people may be blackmailed. Maybe Bibi himself is blackmailed. That's why he's just trying to balance this and balance that. That's another thought. Folks, Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably the correct one. If you're seeing something in front of your face and you're wondering, you're asking the question, an army so strong can't just go in and they've been dilly-dallying. It's been forced to dilly-dally. The soldiers have been forced. Somebody's forcing them to dilly-dally for 8 months, 9 months, when they could have finished this in about a month and a half, two months. They knew where all the booby traps were. They knew, folks. Just like we know where these Hezbollah commanders are at any given nanosecond. And then when we decide, when we decide, it's like Bibi said, it's going to be our decision. When we decide to eliminate whoever. Folks, they know. They all know where everything is. They didn't need months and weeks to dismantle this and dismantle that. Everything is known. The only thing maybe we don't know, and even then we know, the tunnels, locations, how many. We know, folks. Everything is known. We live in an age of satellites and all kinds of stuff that you don't even know about. We know. If a caterpillar farts over there, we know. My friend tells me, we weren't prepared. It was the holiday. What holiday? The IDF keeps Simchat Torah. What holiday? They're always on command. They're always on watch, folks. The mayor of Ofakim called 3 times. Galant, we're taking care of it. We're taking care of it. He started calling him at 7 o'clock in the morning. Finally, somebody at 2 p.m. shows up. Folks, don't allow these people to piss on your head and then to tell you that it's raining. This is what they're doing. This is what Israelis are allowing others to do to them, because they're demoralized. They think the government is on their side. They think that people like Herzl Levy and Galant and all these other people are on their side. They're not. Folks, ask yourself a question. Why has the Israeli government never appointed a guy with a kippah on his head as the head of the Ramatkal? There's a plenty qualified guy. Today there's talk of this guy, Ofer Winter. He's basically everybody, and their grandmother thinks that this guy should be the head of the IDF, head of the IDF command. They will never appoint a guy with a kippah on his head, unless they will. We'll see. My friends, it's not America, it's not Israel. It's a couple of fruitcakes, a little bit more than a couple, that have hijacked. In America, they've hijacked literally the government, the entirety of the White House, State Department. In Israel, they've hijacked what's called the apparatus, the institutions, Supreme Court, labor unions, the media, IDF Central Command. It doesn't even matter who you vote for in the Knesset. You see, guys, we voted overwhelmingly for people in the Knesset, the most religious government since the Beit HaMikdash. We tried to do judicial reform. What did? They sent out their orcs, their minions into the streets, just of Tel Aviv, to throw bricks. Folks, there's a video of a Jew throwing a brick at another Jew's car with kids inside on a road in Israel, on Route 4, just outside of Tel Aviv or Herzliya, wherever this was, in traffic. Folks, this is right before October 7th. That's a whole other discussion. That's the minority of Israel, folks. The guy who throws the brick at other Jews with kids inside the car, Jewish children, that's a minority in Israel. At most 20%. Just like that's a minority in America. And I'm not talking about racial minority, I'm talking about political minority, ideological minority. Folks, this is how they operate. That's how they've always operated, how commies always operated. And they don't care to send their kids to die. You say, oh, Eisenkot, he lost his son in the war. Folks, they don't care. They don't care. Yeah, I said it. They don't care. And they don't care about your kids either. That's why they're willing to go into Gaza, pull out of Gaza. Go into Gaza. It's been almost 9 months, my friends. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll finish this, and B'ezrat Hashem will give us miracles, continue giving us miracles, and you know, just override this fruity crap. Because it's not America and it's not Israel. It's just a couple of guys up to no good started making trouble in your neighborhood. But don't get scared. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.